understand what I'm about to tell you, you need to do something first. You need to believe in the impossible. Can you do that?
What do you desire that you can't have?
When I eat a brain, I get visions.
Don't ever come back to Gotham.
You have failed this city.
Jesus, what kind of a preacher are you?
There's about a dozen ways that I could stop you right now. But I don't think I have to.
In the future, my friends may not be heroes, but if we succeed, they will be remembered as legends.
Welcome to the CTV Report for the week ending Saturday, December 2nd, 2017. I'm Edward O'Hare, nickname to be determined.
And I'm Sarah Netzley, academic by day, freelance writer by night.
We're here to bring you recaps, news, and commentary for all live-action television shows based on DC Comics.
And this week we have, I don't know, Ed, is it 5 new episodes or is it one incredible movie told over 4 hours and then 1 episode?
Yeah, both those work. Yeah, it's true. It's true because we did have our big Crisis on Earth X crossover, which we are going to dive in deep. But notice none of the logos from the regular series were used. It was all Crisis on Earth X. So I think this was a mini series in disguise.
It really was. It was interesting branding. They had different opening credits. I mean, it was the same across all 4 hours, but it didn't reference the show time slot or the show it was tagged to. The Arrow Hour was not an Arrow show, for example. And it's brought up some kind of interesting chatter online. In an age of streaming, how do you handle this? You know, if you're watching, I really only watch The Flash. So you're watching The Flash and you come across all of a sudden this is hour 3 of a crossover that I didn't, how are they going to package it separately? Are they going to
I don't know if you
make it its own? It's just kind of an interesting conundrum.
Yeah, I don't know if you package it separately or just put all 4 episodes on each feed. I think
that's probably, and the nice thing is I think they all play together really well, these shows, and so they'll be able to do that without too much drama, I would think.
I mean, because there are 4 distinct storylines that run in the background of each episode, so that link each show. But we're gonna get into that a little bit. Or do you just want to dive in? Is there anything more? Oh, we do have one email that I wanted to get to.
Okay.
So Agent Palmer, our buddy over in the mountains there, or is it a bunker? I forget.
Is it a bunker in the mountains?
Yeah. So this is the last an email. Last week I mentioned offhand that I always kind of believe that the Marvel heroes were the comic book heroes in the in the DC universe, and if you went into a comic shop in the Marvel universe, you would find comics all about DC characters. And he kind of wants us to play on that premise, and ask us who are the favorite Marvel heroes for the DC TV heroes. So who is Oliver Queen's favorite Marvel superhero?
So I mean, this is a primacy recency thing for me, but the Punisher, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just finished the Netflix series, but I do think Oliver would sort of resonate with that revenge, no holds barred.
Oh, see, Sarah, you open the door now. Now we got to talk about what's going on in the Arrow subreddit.
Oh God. Please don't make me. Bless their man-child hearts. The Arrow subreddit has lost its damn mind. Actually, it lost its damn mind a long time ago. Do you want to explain what's happening?
Yeah. So actually, in the prep for the show, our executive producer Bill Sweeney brought to our attention an article talking about the subreddit for Arrow on Reddit. That evidently fans on that subreddit are extremely against Olicity.
To an uncomfortable, calling for the actress's death degree. It's not cool, man.
Yeah. But in protest, they've decided to refocus all of their posts on the new Punisher TV show on Netflix. And some of the posts are funny. One in particular of John Bernthal's almost taking a nap, daydreaming, and the caption is, "What if I just wore green tights and a pointy hood, and just put arrows into people."
Can we picture Frank Castle having the archery skills? I mean, he's a tenacious guy, and I could see those skills transferring, but it would take a lot of training, I would think, to get up to the Oliver Queen level. But he could do it. He's motivated.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of dead wife daydreams to get through. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know about Frank Castle, but I know John Bernthal is up for anything.
That's true. So what's kind of funny is this is not the first time the Arrow subreddit has done this. They hated the season 4 finale of Arrow so much that they turned it into a Daredevil subreddit for a time. So they have a history of kind of like taking their toys and going home.
You know what? I can sympathize with that decision. Season 4 was not very good, but I don't mind what they've been doing with Felicity this season. I don't think that's fair.
Well, it's something you and I talked about very early on in this podcast run, which is now that they're married, there's not going to be reasons to have secrets, and there's not going to be reasons to have drama. They're married. We can just move forward with them as a married couple, and it can be the surface that we all swim on, and it's not going to be a source of great angst and miscommunication, and thank God. So I think what everybody wants is happily married, and that's no longer a source of Sturm and Drang for the show, and that we can focus on, I guess, the new Canary's romantic foibles with her now evil thought dead partner or whatever. Spoilers. Sorry for Arrow people.
It's okay. And back to
anyway,
back
I'm
to
sorry.
the question.
Back to Palmer's email.
I would say it seems like everyone's favorite Marvel superhero is Spider-Man, because he's come up twice in the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
We'll get to that later in the show. And he says, and for bonus points, who are the favorite DC heroes for the Avengers? Yeah, I don't know. I think you'd have to ask Chris Hemsworth.
So Captain America, what do you think? Shazam? Because you've got that sort of pure-hearted.
Yeah, Shazam. I think he probably really did current Superman. That's going on in the comics right now. The comic book Superman. Yeah, I mean that seems very much in line with Cap. I mean, yeah, it is weird because the types of heroes that they are DC heroes tend to be a little bit more archetypal. But I also think Captain America would probably connect with Wonder Woman in a lot of ways. I mean, Thor seems like Wonder Woman and Aquaman are right up his alley. Just because they both have that ancient lineage to go on, and the kingdom and everything else.
I bet Black Widow reads Preacher for Tulip.
Yeah, I could see that.
This is a good question. This is a thinker.
This is a good one. I'd like to thank Agent Palmer for sending it. And if you want to send us an email, it's dctv@wickedtheory.com.
Make us scratch our heads in thought and be like, ooh, good question.
Yes. And also a big shout out to our friend Redbeard, Dan from Deconstructing Dead, who is live tweeting the crossover with us, and
lovingly live tweeting really fun stuff. That was a great watching experience.
All right, so I think that covers all the emails, so let's jump.
Ooh, can we talk about the crossover now?
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is there's 4 parts to this, so we're just gonna run down all 4 of them and then talk about the whole thing, but we're gonna switch off the recaps. So Sarah, whenever you're ready, let's start part 1.
All right, Hour 1. Crisis on Earth X Part 1. Friends from all over the multiverse made their way to Central City for Barry and Iris's wedding. Kara and Alex were bummed about their latest relationship woes, and Alex had a one-night stand with Sarah Lance. Cisco and Harry cooked up a cure to separate Dr. Stein and Jax, who had mixed feelings about breaking up. Oliver tried proposing to Felicity and got a hard no. The wedding was crashed by Nazis and evil supervillains from Earth X. Last minute reveal, the leaders of the attack turn out to be evil versions of Kara and Oliver, and they are working with Earth One's Reverse Flash.
Part 2. After the Earth X Tommy Merlin killed himself, Harry filled in everybody on Earth X as they tried tracking down the Nazis. Felicity admitted to Oliver her fears of getting engaged again. Our heroes learned they were facing evil married versions of Kara and Oliver, as well as the original Reverse Flash. All the heroes raced to attack the Nazi stronghold, while Dark Arrow attacked Star Labs. Last minute reveal, our captured heroes minus Kara all woke up in a concentration camp on Earth X.
Part 3. While the heroes still on Earth 1 were trapped in meta cells, and Felicity and Iris tried to free them while Reverse Flash used red sunlight to prep Kara for surgery to transplant her heart into Overgirl. The heroes on Earth X were rescued by Citizen Cold and the Ray, and tried to get through a breach before General Winslow's shot blew it up. Last minute reveal, Dr. Stein got shot.
Part 4. The heroes on Earth X made it back to Earth 1 and met up with the other heroes and legends to liberate Star Labs. Dr. Stein took the cure to break up Firestorm and sacrificed himself to save Jax. When the heroes refused to give up Supergirl, the Nazis invaded and the heroes responded in one big glorious showdown fight for all the marbles. Last minute reveal, Diggle was brought in to officiate a quick wedding for Barry and Iris, and Felicity and Oliver made it a surprise double wedding.
Edward O'Hare, nickname to be determined. How much did you love this crossover?
Oh my God, this was glorious.
This was my Justice League. This was my Justice League. This crossover earned every single emotional interaction, every inside joke, every time we cried, every time we laughed, every kiss, every punch. Like, over the last 6 years, they have been building this brick by brick, and it paid off so beautifully with these intricate character interactions from different shows, referencing different events. Every character got to showcase their skills and their fighting strengths, even if it was just for 20 seconds, and that was really all you saw of that character if it was one of the more minor ones. Mm-hmm. It was so good. It was so good.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, it's the kind of thing where all this stuff is going on, and then all of a sudden you get into the Arrow, and you realize, oh, wait a minute, the Arrows haven't showed up. And then you get, like, into Part 4, and you realize, wait a minute, half the Legends have been missing all this time. But it all worked. It all came up together beautifully. I thought the story arcs were great. You know, there were a couple of disappointments, but you know, mainly Dr. Stein's death. I didn't think that was necessary. But I do think that you know, if you're going to give Victor Garber a death scene, you can't get much better than that.
Well, or alternatively, if you're going to give any of those actors a death scene, for God's sake, give it to Victor Garber. He's going to crush it.
Yeah, and I'm not. It's a lot to take in here and dissect.
Well, and I like that it moved the plot forward in a lot of ways. Not for everybody, of course. There was a lot going on, but it really did have some character development for, you know, clearly Felicity and for Oliver, for Jax, obviously. And it really, it's not going to be the kind of thing that you don't necessarily need to watch to understand what's going to come next on some of the shows. It's an important part of the character development. Alex certainly I had some trepidation. I had heard about the Alex-Sara hookup prior to it airing, and I was worried that it would be played like lesbians, you know what I mean? You know, and not at all was that the case. I really thought they turned it into a nice growth moment for Alex. And if you think about some of the news that we'd reported on Legends in the past on this podcast, Sarah's apparently going to be getting a more serious love interest as opposed to just another string of hookups. And that laid the groundwork for that as well. So just the intricate writing that went into weaving all of these storylines together, the work and the care and the attention really paid off. Beautifully.
Yeah.
And the score, when they focus on Kara in a fight, you hear the Supergirl score, and then when it goes back to Arrow, you hear the Arrow score. Just all of it was so It was so good. I'm just going to keep saying that over and over in an increasingly shrill voice until I explode. I really enjoyed this crossover.
Oh,
good fights, good action.
Yeah. So I mean, let's dive in a little bit. Talk about each show's individual arc. So the big arc from Supergirl here was
Wait, no, let me. That Barry and Iris's friends are complete jerks who don't RSVP to anything. That was the big takeaway from that. Felicity and Oliver are in the wedding and they hadn't RSVP'd. No, you monsters.
To be fair.
But I understand. It was a cute setup. It really was.
To be fair, if you're in the wedding party, is the RSVP really necessary?
That's true. I sent my brother an RSVP for my wedding, and he responded with, "I regret that you had to waste a stamp on this. Of course I'm going to be there. I'm a groomsman." And I think that's probably the best wedding party response to any RSVP. So good times.
But to talk about the Supergirl arcs, we can kind of do this. The big storyline that ran through was Kara and Alex dealing with their relationship woes. And Alex had a one-night stand with Sarah Lance. And Kara was kind of learning that she doesn't have to go it alone, even though she feels that way. I think Barry kind of wore her down a little bit into believing that you can still have a life outside of being a superhero.
Yeah, we heard that song and dance that she's been doing all season long, which is being human is too hard. I need to be alone. I need to be an alien. I need to be Supergirl. And she said that again to Barry, who basically said, "Oh man, I just talked Oliver into believing that he can have love in his life. And now I've got you being all mopey sad sack." So, I think I'm especially curious to see how is Kara changed as a result of this, particularly fighting your evil self. This is jumping ahead to the last hour, but at one point, Kara says, nobody's going to die because of me. I will give myself up to the Nazis because I don't want anybody to die because of me. When all of this Nazi business happened because Overgirl, evil Kara, needed a heart, right? And so she wanted everybody to die so she could live. So it's an interesting, if Kara really were alien and has no concern, that's what she would look like. But she's not that clearly. She cares about people, and I hope that gets her back in touch with. Here, I'm getting a little tired of the I have to be an alien, I have to be alone. So I hope this jumpstarts that realization.
Yeah. And Arrow, which was technically the second episode. Yeah. I guess the big thing was Oliver. The night of a rehearsal dinner, which is a huge faux pas. Tried popping the question, and Felicity gave a violent no. And then over the next few episodes, thought about it.
I guess coming face to face with evil doppelgangers and almost dying at the hands of alt-Earth Nazis will make you, reestablish your relationship goals, perhaps. So I get it by the end of the crossover that she was like, yeah, let's do this. Life's too short. Alt-Earth Nazis could show up at any time. Let's do this.
Yeah. And I guess the big thing with Flash was the wedding. Well, before the Nazis stormed in and ruined everything, I thought that was a beautiful wedding.
Oh, it was gorgeous. The tears in Barry's eyes as Iris comes down the aisle. Joe saying, "I wish your parents were here," and Barry saying they are. Kara singing the song that Barry sang to Iris in the musical when he proposed to her. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Just point by point, gorgeous. And do we need to talk about the officiant really quickly?
Yes. Who was that officiant?
That was William Catt, aka Ralph Hinckley, aka the greatest American hero.
Oh!
For those who prefer their television with a little bit of a vintage feel.
Okay. You know what? Dan referenced that, Redbeard referenced that on Twitter, and I wasn't sure what he was referring to. Okay, so that was the yeah, and I love how like the first thing the Nazis did was vaporize him. So it's like, nope, we're not. This is what he's not restarting.
We are not pulling punches.
We can't salvage this after we get them out of here.
But that was a fun little, that's not a DC character. There's not really any connection to the universe, but it's just a fun superhero in joke for, I guess, fans who are really older than me.
Yeah.
We're watching
that one span in the early 1980s when, the only superhero that was, I think, on the air at that time was Hulk. Like that's the closest you could have gotten to what we have today.
I would say a minor Flash storyline, I mean, minor is relative because there's so many storylines, is also Caitlin. I enjoyed watching her exert control over her Killer Frost powers, that she's able to channel it and fight with her friends as opposed to against them. And I really enjoyed watching her sort of mature and say, okay, well, here's how I can fly in on a freaking ice floe to do battle here. So.
Yeah. And I also think it was a nice reminder that she had a relationship with Dr. Stein.
Oh yes, and Ronnie.
Yeah. I mean, her Dr. Stein's original partner was her fiance.
Just like the Defense Against the Dark Arts minister or professor at Hogwarts is the most deadly job to hold at Hogwarts, I feel like Firestorm is the most deadly job to hold in the Arrowverse. Like if you take either of those positions, you're gonna die. That's just
which brings us to the main story that was on Legends, which was Dr. Stein and Jefferson finally separated, but not in the way you thought it was going to happen.
No, not in the way any of us would have hoped.
Yeah, I think this is a real Bush League move.
Okay, so what did you want Stein to be able to leave gracefully and live out his life with his family?
Yeah.
You wanted a happy ending? Yeah, God, what's wrong with you?
I don't see why that was a big ask.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like a huge kick him while he's down. It's like guaranteed you're never coming back except in flashbacks.
Yeah, I don't know if it was, I mean, you kind of wonder if is it the writers being like, you want to leave our show? Fine, our show's going to leave you. Or if they needed some emotional stakes for something of the caliber of this crossover and it just all worked out.
Yeah.
I'd like to think it was the latter and not petty grievances on the former.
Yeah, they
but
I mean, I guess
I never know.
Yeah, I guess they made him the Agent Coulson for this.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I will say I guess while we're just jumping around and talking about all 4 hours, the end, I've never cared more about Jax. I've never felt more, I don't think, in an Arrowverse show as when he has to show up and tell Stein's family that he's dead, the funeral. I was just a sobbing mess through the last 15 minutes because it was so well handled and respectfully handled. So if they had to do it, I wouldn't have wanted them to do it any other way, except for, seriously, in hour one, Martin being like, I'm going to be a great grandpa when I retire. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to quit. I'm going to have this great life. And I was just like, well, we see where this is going. Nutsies.
Yeah, it's done.
So I would have wanted it to be a little less telegraphed, but if they had to do it, that's exactly how I would have wanted them to handle it. There was the maximum earned tears there, and it worked for me. I was emotionally wrung out at the end.
Yeah. I mean, I was just more defiant, just like, no, come on,
you can't take my Victor Garber,
you
no,
bastards. Burn it all down. But now, do you think Dr. Stein? The last serum he ever made was that one elixir that Jax could take to give him sticky spider powers.
Super adhesion.
Yeah. You think he takes that just in honor of the honor of Grey? Or
would you? I mean, like, if the person you love the most in the world died, would you turn yourself into super adhesion man? Yeah. I'm not sure I would. There's enough scientists in the Arrowverse that I would hope somebody could come up with some better thing for him.
Yeah.
Or some way that he could be Firestorm just solo. Although I wouldn't be surprised if they want to do away with Firestorm because he's so expensive to animate.
Well, I mean,
so super adhesion might be cheaper.
I mean, that would be the obvious thing, would be to bring Ronnie back from the dead. like find a way to bring
Uh-huh.
and then they connect. You know, I mean, and they still have not resolved that, by the way. You know, because it's season 2 of The Flash just, you know, opens with Dr. Stein coming out of the portal, and you know, he doesn't know what happened to Ronnie, and we never really find out. So he's out there floating somewhere. So, you know, I don't know if it's something with Robbie Amell's contract, or
The CW can only handle so many Amells at one time. I mean, let's be honest.
yeah, but I mean, and Robbie Amell does some good work. He's done some sci-fi movies on Netflix. That
Do you have any specific recommendations for me to look up this weekend?
There was one specific. Hang on a second, I'll find it. There was one.
Is it the one?
That's like a.
Was there a space station one?
There was a space station one that had Brandon Routh in it.
Yeah, and Katie Lotz too, didn't it?
Yeah,
basically the legends.
I think that was called. I think that was called 9 Lives. Is that it? No, that's the Spacey Talking Cat movie.
Isn't that the Kevin Spacey Talking Cat movie?
Ark is the one I was thinking of. That's kind of like an Edge of Tomorrow type thing, about a guy stuck in a time loop.
Yes.
He's guarding an energy source, and he's going to stop people from murdering him and stealing it. And then what's the other thing? Unless I'm thinking of something else. I'll figure it out. This is going to bother me. We should probably edit most of this out.
No, I really like Ed thinking in real time on the air. That's great.
Yeah, I can't. I'm looking on Brendan Routh's IMDb, and I'm not seeing either. Unless it's 400 Days.
That sounds familiar-ish.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. With their 400-day mission simulating. Yeah, but that's also on Netflix.
So 400 Days.
That does not have Robbie Amell in it. It has Dane Cook. I don't know how I confused.
Oh my God!
It was a Netflix sci-fi thing. It has Robbie Amell, Katie Lotz, and Tom Cavanaugh. For some reason, I thought Robbie Amell was thrown in there. I apologize.
Dane Cook, Robbie Amell, 6 of one, half dozen of another. Really, they're the same dude. So
yeah, I just wasted everyone's time.
This may be edited out.
I didn't see that one, but I'm sure it's good.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Now let's get to the big thing. We've gotten all the side stories out of the way. So Nazis invaded from Earth X, led by the Reverse Flash, Overgirl, and the Führer Dark Arrow.
Oh, wow. You know, I was a little nervous about the Nazi thing because Nazis are a little less hypothetical in 2017 than we might like. And so I was concerned about how fun it would be to watch. Turns out pretty fun.
Yeah.
Really pretty fun to watch everybody wail on Nazis. Really, really quite fun.
Yeah.
Especially for me, when you look at the diversity on the team, episode 3 was pretty heavy with the concentration camp and, the introduction of that element, the actual, the striped prisoner uniforms. It was a lot. And it's amazing to me that this show kept its enjoyable tone when it got so heavy. But if you look at it, the team that was fighting the Nazis, you had, of course, white superheroes, but you have black superheroes, Muslim, Jewish, you have men and women, you have gay, straight, bisexual, you've got all ages. I mean, it just really, if it was just a group of white folks, I guess, fighting the Nazis, that's great. I mean, punch a Nazi. But when you look at the extreme diversity of the heroes that they assembled for that, it really elevated it to me to something extra awesome, extra Nazi punching awesome. So yeah, my concerns were assuaged. That was great.
Yeah. You guys are gonna remember, like, in the a lot of the superheroes came about late 1930s, early 1940s. A lot of these
in their DNA is Nazi fighting.
Yeah. This is what the Justice Society, that's all they were doing was fighting Nazis. In the 40s. So yeah, it was interesting. Earth X, Earth X is a storyline that's been around since the 70s. That was one of the original Crisis, and they handled it in a different way, but it still kept true to the basic idea of Earth X is this weird Earth where the Nazis won the war, and
And I love that Harrison never told them, oh, yeah, BT dubs, there's a Nazi Earth. That feels like information that people should have known sooner. Oh, yeah. Forgot, guys. Yeah.
yeah. And it's funny, the only member of the freedom fighters that we got in here was the Ray.
And let me say, I want the Ray to be a full-time cast member on I don't care which show immediately. Yeah. I loved him.
Yeah, I thought that was a great storyline. I thought the romance between him and Citizen Cold did not feel forced in any way.
Oh my God, that was so perfect. And they didn't have a ton of screen time, but what they did with it, they established these well-rounded characters, this tender, supportive relationship. Citizen Cold. I have missed Wentworth Miller. I love his take on that character, and then seeing his take on that character, but in a law-abiding, good supporting way. Perfect. I am so sad that he's wrapping up his time on this universe because he is so much fun, and he and the Ray were so good together.
Yeah,
I'm sad that we're going to lose that pairing as quickly as we got it. Basically.
Yeah. I mean, he is going to be sticking around, I'm guessing, on Flash for a little while because he did stay behind on Earth 1.
But at the same time, he's also tweeted that he's done. He's finished with the Arrowverse once he's done here. So
yeah. So I mean,
that's too bad. But I loved Rory's reactions. Okay, basically, I loved Rory full stop in every hour of this crossover. But his reactions to Citizen Cold were great. But Rory, when they after the wedding fight is done and the Nazis retreat, and he's just like, best wedding ever. Oh, Rory.
My favorite Rory moment was when Dr. Stein found him in the hallway wearing his wife's dress and said, your daughter said I had to put clothes on.
If Rory wants to just wander through the background of every Arrow show or Arrowverse show, that would be great. I love the wedding fight, the church fight, because it was an unusual setting. Everybody's in dress clothes. I liked Sarah and Alex having to rip the seam so they could do, their high kicks to take down evil Prometheus. Well, more Nazi evil Prometheus, not just evil Prometheus. But that was fun to stage that around pews and just very, very cool. Very good fighting on these crossover episodes.
Yeah. And that led to the return of Tommy Merlin, which people have been looking forward to for like 5 years now.
I thought he was going to be Prometheus last season, honestly. So it's kind of cool that they finally got it together to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was nice to see that actor again and see that death still weighs on Oliver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I really, honestly, it did surprise me a tiny little bit. Nazi Tommy's just like, oh, Oliver, we can, buddy, my brother. Oh, wait, psych, evil Nazi. Because I was like, wow, Tommy's really soft and cracking easily. That surprised me. You think that they would have better? Yeah, okay. That fun. Nazis. By the way, I love that Fuhrer Oliver Queen, really not that much different than our Oliver Queen. Evil Supergirl, real different. But evil Oliver, kind of the same growly, brooding guy, acting wise. But Melissa Benoist, I loved her as evil Supergirl. I loved her. All I'm saying, our Kara should really consider adopting that evil red lipstick shade because it looked good on her. So
interesting. Yeah, no. That's definitely point there. What did you think of Nazi Quentin Lance?
Broke my heart. That was probably the hardest Nazi version to watch for me. Because he was so, it felt a little more personal, I guess. Mm-hmm. Him denying his daughter, poor Sarah Lance, he rejected every version of his daughter from whatever Earth. Mm-hmm. That was brutal. And I really think Paul Blackstone probably really enjoyed playing that. It seemed like he was having a very nice time.
Yeah, it did seem like he was laying into it and really liked the mustache twirling for a change. Because, that's definitely a huge change of pace for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he got to do it. I enjoyed watching that.
Yeah, and he also had some twists. Oliver got stupid for a moment and thought that Lance had given him a loaded gun.
Oh, clearly never.
Yeah, and we got to see, has Felicity's Judaism come up before on the show, or was it?
Occasionally. It's not been a big.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't like Rory. Last season, Ragman, he brought up his Judaism a lot. Felicity doesn't the way he did.
Okay, but I mean, it had been mentioned on the show.
But it had been mentioned.
Okay.
This wasn't an out of the blue. Wait, now what? No, she's mentioned it before. But this was probably the most explicitly my grandparents, came out of Nazi Germany, and I'm not going down like this, but the X version of Felicity with that goodness and that concern for other people shining through, and sort of not concern for herself but for others, and of course that's the one. I don't know how Quentin Lance knew that our Earth Oliver was in a relationship with, and how he found Felicity, that version, in the camp, and I don't care. It worked for me. I don't need to know the logistics. Do not question Nazi Captain Lance.
All right. So, and what else we got? Reverse Flash in this episode.
Okay, let's talk about Barry.
Yeah. What? This is another. What are you thinking, bro? What are you doing?
I mean, I get it. I Oliver can shoot a heart into his evil doppelganger. Can shoot an arrow into his evil doppelganger's heart. Oliver Queen can do that.
Oh yeah,
Supergirl.
That was the best part. Was like Barry has that hang up, and he's like, "All right, let her go." And then Kara just basically has to fly up as fast as she can, because that's the only thing to do.
Wait, Ed. She has to fly up
and away.
Away.
yeah, to let that thing blow. And then and Barry has this whole big breakdown of like, no, just go. And lets him get away. And then it comes down to Oliver and Dark Arrow, and he just, without thinking, just arrows straight into his heart.
Well, to be fair, Dark Arrow growls at him, "I'm going to kill you." And so, it was self-defense, but yet no hesitation. Oliver Queen has always secretly wanted to kill himself, though, right? Like, that had to exercise some demons.
Yes, Prometheus would be proud. But yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was they didn't get the actor who played Reverse Flash last season to come back. They decided to have Tom Cavanagh step in.
Well, frankly, I'm always happy to have Tom Cavanagh. So, an evil Tom Cavanagh is a lot of fun. And I agree. Barry is not a killer the way Oliver Queen is, and I don't mean that in any judgmental way toward Oliver, but to have Barry insert his vibrating hand into Reverse Flash's heart, that doesn't quite feel like Barry, even though it is incredibly frustrating, because Reverse Flash is still going to manage to just mess up everything in Barry's life in the future, but. So it was a frustrating moment, but it's a character moment, right?
Yeah, you couldn't find a way to trap that guy in the Speed Force. I mean,
that's true. I mean, we also have cells designed for metas, so can Barry not subdue him until that can happen?
Yeah. I guess he just figures that he'll get away anyway.
It's inevitable.
Yeah. That one.
Okay. So how about General Wynn?
Oh, yes.
Earth X's freedom fighting resistance leader as the general. Amazing.
Yeah, we only thought we were going to get 2 Supergirl characters this episode in this crossover, but we did get Wynn in there. Still no Martian Manhunter like that guy, but it's coming. It's coming. Next year. Next year we got to find a way to smash 5 more heroes in here.
But for me, that's the best use of doppelgangers, is to play so against type.
Yeah.
Because Wynn is such a goofy, bouncy guy, and then to have him no nonsense general, I loved it. That was a lot of fun, and again, got to be a lot of fun for the actor to play against type like that.
Yeah. I was, I thought, and I also, the guy was impatient. Really just like, okay, go. I changed my mind. Blow it up.
Go.
It's kind of like, we need something to move the story forward, so just blow it up.
Let's see. I feel like we're just now picking things just sort of that we like to talk about. How about Ray's introduction? And I've forgotten which hour it was. They all kind of blend together. But when Reverse Flash goes to slice into Kara's chest to take the heart out and he can't move the scalpel, it's like, oh, did the red sunlight not soften her enough? But no, psych, it's the Atom. He's there to stop the scalpel. He's going to go to full size. He's Ray. He can embiggen if he needs to.
That was the big cheer moment. That was, like that's the one moment I wish I'd been in a theater full of people watching this on a big screen. Was just for that.
Oh, think about that. That would have been fun. DC fans watching this on the big screen. Oh my God.
There had to be one theater in New York or LA doing that. That should, like, this is a Fathom event. If there ever was one, this should have been a Fathom event.
Forget about Inhumans, the pilot in IMAX. This is what should have been in IMAX.
Yeah. You know what? Screw Killing Joke, the animated Killing Joke movie. I want to see the Crisis on Earth X on a big screen.
Yep. How about General? Would you care to step outside? Which is, of course, I thought delivery wise, pitch perfect recreation of, was it Superman 2, 3, whichever one had Zod.
Oh yeah, it was Superman 2.
But that's thank you. Which is just the pitch perfect General. Would you care to step outside? So I thought Benoist delivered that really well.
Yeah, that was the homage. The other homage that was really obvious was everyone in unison at the end of the wedding, when the wedding gets crashed, going, "I hate Nazis."
I hate Nazis.
Because you had to get a Raiders joke in there somehow.
By the way, did you notice that the voice of the Nazi Wave Rider is Susanna Thompson, who played Moira Queen?
Oh no, I didn't realize that.
I didn't notice that. I had to read about it afterward from people whose ears are better attuned to voices than mine are, apparently. But yeah, that was Moira Queen voicing Earth X Wave Rider, which I thought was cool.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. All right. So coming down, you want to talk a little bit of where each show goes from here?
Yeah. And that's going to let me point out one thing that we didn't talk about already, which is, let's start with the Flash because I don't want to forget this point. Mm-hmm. The overeager server at the wedding. First of all, Barry and Iris had champagne at the wedding ceremony.
Oh, yeah,
nice.
That was never paid off. Who was that?
Okay, well, that's going to pay off. This is where I think the show is going to go. I don't think next week. I don't think next month. But I think we're going to find out at some point that overeager server clearly is some sort of offspring of Barry and Iris, because she was way too into being at that particular wedding. So that's got to be, what is it? Dawn Allen? Is that the name I've heard bandied about? I don't know that for sure, but it's got to be a daughter or a granddaughter back in time to see her folks get hitched. But to me, that felt like planting a seed. It didn't pay off in the crossover, but it is going to pay off. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be next week, but I bet at some point, like I could see a season or the season finale this season being her showing up to be like, "Mom, Dad, I need your help." Something.
See, like if that was a freckled redhead boy, we could have said that was Bart Allen, Impulse, who is also Barry and Iris's grandson, who comes from the future, and he starts as Impulse and later becomes Kid Flash. But that's a good call. Speaking of which, Elongated Man was not anywhere near. I guess no. Ralph still hasn't earned an invite to the wedding.
No, sorry, Ralph. We don't trust you to behave.
Why don't you make yourself a decent costume first? Cisco is really mean.
That was some petty stuff on Cisco's part. Here, this is the most unattractive costume in the world. It's yours now. Let's see. In terms of how it moved the needle for Team Flash, like I said, I think it gave Caitlin a little bit more confidence in her Killer Frost abilities to use them to help the team, I would think. Is there any other Cisco just did his thing. He had a great time flying the Wave Rider, so that was amazing. He portaled people in and out, so he did well. But I can't think of anybody else really other than that Barry and Iris are married, and we can stop listening to Iris plan the wedding. So yay!
Yeah, and figure how the Thinker's going to get them divorced by the end of the season.
Oh my god. I need both of these marriages to stick. Like we said about Elicity, just let them be married. Stop the drama. Because God knows once you're married, it's all smooth sailing. All your problems disappear.
Oh yeah. I mean, most TV shows once the couple gets together, they're usually canceled within like 2 or 3 seasons, right?
Yeah. Witness The Office.
I kid.
I don't know why you just jinxed it like that, but let's see. So do you see anything else for the Flash moving forward?
I think Flash we pretty much covered it. Bouncing around.
Supergirl wise, we actually kind of talked about it already, but Alex, I think, is a little more comfortable with the idea of I'm a single woman now. I made the right choice about Maggie. That was a nice conversation in the last hour that she and Sarah had. That was trust your instincts. You made the right call. It's sad, but you're going to be okay. And so I hope that lets her, and I'm glad that Alex had that, oh my God, this isn't me. What did I do? I had this hookup. The whole thing, it could have been so gross, and it wasn't at all. I really did think it was handled respectfully and appropriately. That would be how Alex would react. She'd be so freaked out, and then, oh my God, she's an assassin. What? That's so good. So hopefully Alex, continues to grieve, but is building the tools that she needs for her new life as fabulous single lady. And then Kara, of course, we're still doing the super versus human duality.
Yeah. So Alex is going to jump into online dating.
And she's going to be doing a lot of swiping.
Yeah. And you think Kara, she could probably get with James because that character's done nothing this season.
Yeah. I think they're setting up a James Lena thing.
Oh, okay.
Because there's been enough of that friction, like, sir, you disgust me, between the two of them at Catco, that I could see that becoming an enemies to lovers thing. I'm not saying I want that necessarily, but I feel like that's where they're edging.
Were you a Frasier fan?
Yes.
Remember, like 4 times every season, he'd be yelling at a woman, and all of a sudden would just go, "Are you turned on as I am right now?"
That's a good Kelsey Grammer. Yeah, this gets back to my earlier lessons to you about angry kissing. This is an angry kissing opportunity. So,
okay. So it's a Frasier moment.
That makes it about 80% less sexy, but okay, it's a Frasier moment.
I don't know if you're watching Mr. Robot at all, but
I heard terrible things about season 2, so I jumped out. Is season 3 worth jumping back in?
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. This show is incredibly captivating.
Okay.
But there's one character who keeps talking about sitcoms, and he had a rant 2 weeks ago about Frasier. But like, I don't understand how this dude smashes that much ass and he's that ugly.
It's his voice.
I couldn't watch.
He's got that purring voice.
I couldn't watch sitcoms for another 3 years. It ruined my whole conception of television. Tangent. All right, so Supergirl. So what do you want to do next? Legends or Arrow?
Let's do Arrow. Well, Elicity are married.
Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
Excited.
Does that mean they stop being called Elicity? What's the protocol here? Or does that go on?
They're now Mr. and Mrs. Smoke-Queen now, I guess. No, I think they still get to be Elicity. Just because you're married, you don't lose your portmanteau. But in terms of, I don't think the other characters weren't on there appreciably. Mr. Terrific had a couple of nice moments.
Mm-hmm. Wild Doug had some great action shots.
That's true. I did like him plucking up that civilian child and just shooting a gun at Nazis as he hustled her to safety. So there were nice moments for each of them. I thought, you got a little bit of the canary cry with Dinah, and you got a little bit of, those kinds of, and of course Diggle, the number one Elicity shipper, got to marry them. That was, I enjoyed them Barry super speeding him over. I will say, Oliver and Felicity didn't have a marriage license. I don't know if that's legal, but
he's the mayor. They can work it out.
They can post date it. It's fine. It's fine. Although he also, I think, probably broke the terms of his bail because you're not supposed to leave the state, right? So,
well, they never establish which state these cities are in.
That's true. I guess I assume they're in different states, but maybe not. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought of like Star City as like Seattle, and Central City is like, like Minneapolis, St. Paul. But
Minneapolis, St. Paul, that's so random.
Well, no, because in the comics you have Central City and Keystone City right next to it.
Okay.
And the Flash kind of works both cities depending on which version he's in. So that's why I always thought of them as like the Twin Cities.
The Twin Cities is a really a nice, clean, friendly metropolis. I could see that. Yeah. I don't think they have a lot of big sharks wandering around with legs, but I haven't been there recently, so.
Yeah.
I know that there was some complaints about Felicity and Oliver hijacking Barry and Iris's ceremony. To that I say, hogwash. Sit yourselves down. That was not a planned wedding. Nazis hijacked their actual wedding. And Barry and Iris all along had been like, you guys should get married. You guys should get married. So when you have this impromptu in the park ceremony and Felicity and Oliver decide to hop on, Barry and Iris have been encouraging that all along. So it was a lovely moment. I think each of them probably deserved to have their own wedding ceremony. But you know what? In the spirit of the crossover, let's get them both pitched. Everybody kisses. Hooray.
Yeah, I think the bigger mistake was Oliver trying to propose during the rehearsal dinner. I think that was
and pushing Felicity. I mean, that wasn't the best behavior on either of their parts. Oliver was moved by the spirit of the event, but then he kept pushing her, and that's when she yelled, and that wasn't cool either. But so it was not great on either of their parts. Probably private is better for that. If you're going to do a public ceremony, you better know for sure that she's going to say yes, or a public proposal. Better know for sure he or she is going to say yes.
Yeah. Now,
still, true love prevails. And just take a second. People who swing in this direction, Oliver in that tuxedo, take a second to fan yourself. When he steps out, and even Barry's like, damn, yes. Damn indeed, Barry. Damn indeed. Okay, back to you, Ed.
So Legends.
I think Legends is going to obviously have the most impact, right?
Yeah, we've got to find Jack's superpowers now, or at least some type of hero persona. We know John Constantine's coming on board. So my guess is that, and he seems like a perfect foil for Damien Dark. Yeah. In fact, it almost seems like too much. Like he's just going to walk in, put out his cigarette and just destroy the whole place before. But he also has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the helmet of Naboo comes in, because we did see that helmet in Constantine's Stronghold in his TV show on NBC. So we know he has the helmet of Naboo, who, if you don't know, that is the helmet that unleashes Dr. Fate, and he needs a human host in order to reside.
There are times on the show that you're just talking to yourself. I need you to know that. Okay. And this is one of those times.
Okay.
No, this is good. I'm interested. Yeah. I just don't know anything about this, and I have nothing to add.
Dr. Fate. He's golden helmet with a blue and gold suit, costume and cape, and he has mystical powers.
Is this any relation to Doctor Strange with the cape and the mystical and the Doctor title?
Yeah, it's similar. Yeah, he the original one operated out of Salem, Massachusetts. So it's but it's the helmet of Naboo is this mantle that's been passed down. And it needs a host right now, and Jax is looking for a gig, so I don't see, I would not be surprised if that comes up. It might not be, it might not, so don't get your hopes up. That's pure speculation on my part, but it would be cool.
Is that effect cheaper than the Firestorm effect?
It involves flying and smoke, no fire. So that's the kind of, so I mean, it may be 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but you may see him every 2 episodes instead of every 4 or 5. I mean, maybe about as often as you see Nate suit up, or we see Nate turn silver.
All right. Which feels like the appropriate amount to me, because my feelings on Nate.
Yes.
Less Nate is better. So. Speaking of budget and money, I thought the special effects were good.
Yeah.
TV special effects, but still the flying effects were great. The Kara fighting Kara scenes I thought were really, really fun. I know that they've joked about, well, we need to do a bottle episode for Legends because we need to save money for the crossover. Worth it. Whatever penny pinching they did on the other shows, they went all out for this, and it was worth it. I just such a great use of whatever budget they had on this.
Yeah.
Every penny. Perfect.
Yeah, and you notice, almost all the Earth X sets were current
Arrowverse sets.
Yeah.
the resistance on Earth X is the Arrow Cave. Yeah, absolutely. They reuse things well.
Yeah, the concentration camp just looked like a refit of Gorilla City. But that was a joke.
I just didn't really want to laugh at anything with concentration camp.
Sorry.
It's okay. And when we did our Justice League special podcast, which if you haven't checked that out, we've got a special episode out just talking about the Justice League. One of my complaints was the CGI nature of the villain makes it hard for me to be scared or take it seriously. I liked that the villains on this crossover were people. I mean, they were people who wear the faces of characters we love. It's a much more immediate threat to me when it's a real person. So I liked that. That's, again, when I say I like this more than Justice League, that's another reason. I thought the villains were easier to connect with and enjoy the arrow to the heart of it all, because it wasn't just some computer animated monster trying to get boxes.
All right. So anything more specific you want to talk about with the crossover?
Earth X is still controlled by Nazis, so hopefully General Wynn can overthrow them, because that kind of bummed me out.
Yeah, and I think we will see that in Ray's animated series on
that's true, on the CW Seed.
All right, let's get into Arrowverse news.
Okay, well, the big one this week, of course, is that after several weeks of investigation, Warner Brothers has fired executive producer Andrew Kreisberg, who had been accused of rather heinous acts of harassment and general workplace dickery. So a lot of the stars of the shows, Melissa Benoist, Katie Lotz, Emily Bett Rickards, all came out against him and in support of the women who came forward and the men who came forward. So yeah, that is something that I think people have been waiting for. They waited until after the crossover aired to release that. I don't know if they wanted to bury that news under all the positive remarks about the crossover, or if they just didn't want to steal the crossover's thunder, but that came out kind of quietly after the crossover aired. But that is 2017.
Yeah.
So hopefully, and it looks like they're giving showrunner control and end producing control. Some of it's going to go. Greg Berlanti's going to pick up some. They've got people who were already involved with the different shows. He was especially involved in The Flash and Supergirl. So the existing showrunners are going to kind of pick up the slack there. So hopefully we can move forward with a better, safer, happier workplace for everybody.
Nice. Sad story. Moving on.
All right, so a couple casting things for The Flash. Kendrick Sampson has been cast as Brainstorm, a TSA agent who becomes a psychic villain. And Kendrick Sampson is on How to Get Away with Murder. He's appearing right now on White Famous on, I think that is Stars. And he was in the Vampire Diaries, among other things. Supernatural, I believe, as well. So Brainstorm, is that an exciting addition to the Flash verse for you?
Yeah. There are a couple of different versions from Brainstorm in the comics. Most notably, there was an early Justice League villain who had a silver cone on his head that he used to absorb stellar energy. And
like the Coneheads from SNL?
Yeah.
Cool.
It actually looked like one of those like big clown hats with the fuzz on the top.
That's not frightening.
Don't think they're going in that direction.
But what if they did?
Yeah, and then there's another version who fought Mr. Terrific later on, who absorbed energy from technology. So this looks like it's going in a different direction, but hey, it sounds fun.
Yeah. I kind of like the updating to he's a TSA agent. So that's making it modern. The other bit of casting news on Twitter, WWE personality Bill Goldberg tweeted that he is going to be joining The Flash for, I think it was 2 episodes. He didn't say in what role, and CW or the show itself have not commented on that, but it looks like a big dude is going to be playing some role on The Flash coming up.
Wow, Barry can't handle that. Bill Goldberg.
Well, I mean, Barry's real fast though.
Yeah, but if he's caught and thrown into a power bomb, it's over.
What will he do? See, the other bit of DCverse news was Screen Rant did an interview with Brandon Routh, who talked about Constantine's arc on the show. He said that Ray is going to be really entranced by Constantine's magic, which is kind of interesting because Ray is a man of science. But Brandon Routh says, Ray also loves Camelot and is sort of just all in when it comes to things like that. So he's cool with not knowing how magic works. He's just kind of excited to see it happen. And he also said that Constantine is going to move the story forward in an important way, which I love. I love it when a guest star actually nudges the plot in a direction it needs to go. And Constantine's such a cool character to pop up on different shows. And so he's going to advance things a little bit for the Legends. And it sounds like for Ray in particular.
Nice.
So I am really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's great. I'm just excited to see Matt Ryan again in that trench coat.
Yeah. Let's
just make this happen. Let's go.
I love probably his hair just was recovering from all that bleach, and he's like, "Well, gotta bleach it again."
Yep. And any other?
I think that's it for the CW shows this week.
So then,
news-wise.
All right, so then.
So shall we move on to the other poor Gotham? We have one other episode of TV that I think in any other week I would be raving about because this was a great episode of Gotham. But compared to this epic, just shattering crossover, I'm like, yeah, we also have Gotham. Here it is.
It's a good episode. Let's
It was.
Let's jump right in. Go with the description.
All right. Season 4, episode 10, A Dark Night, Things That Go Boom. Oswald finally went after Sophia, and as the walls closed in, she tried enlisting Jim and the Sirens to help bring the fight back to Penguin. Lee and Ed had to stop Samson's plan to take the Narrows away from them. X-rays showed Professor Pig had titanium plates surgically implanted in his face to disguise his identity, and Jim asked Lucius to try to figure out Pig's true identity. Last-minute reveal, Pig's identity was uncovered, but not before he escaped Arkham, leaving behind a dead guard and a note in blood for Jim.
All right.
So I subtitle this episode, Who Run the World? Girls.
Yes.
Because that really was, I loved the Lee versus Sophia methods of assuming power and kind of keeping power, how Sophia is so underhanded and sneaky, but secretly 10 steps ahead of you, and Lee just wants to do good and isn't always quite sure, but she goes in anyway, and she's tough when she needs to be. And I like the way the two women handle power really differently. A lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think it was also interesting to see this entire episode. Sophia reeked of desperation. She just whenever she's cornered, it just looks like, oh, it's over. What are you doing? Why do you keep trying? And she's just relentless. She just won't stop, going after Oswald, going after Jim. And then, even when the Sirens have her cornered, she keeps turning it on to them, trying to get them, to come to her side and cut that deal. This whole episode was about cutting deals, on all sides. And in the end, we're going to war.
Yeah. I love Sophia's confidence. She looks cornered, it looks desperate, but she always has an ace up her sleeve. And she, especially with the torturer, when it looks like he's just going to extract all of her teeth one by one painfully, and she's like, oh, no, your family will die if this happens. She doesn't even flinch. So I love love the doesn't flinch nature of her. Even when she's backed into a corner, she keeps that spine straight and she does what she needs to do. I continue to enjoy this character very much.
Never say die. Now Martine played an interesting part in the storyline. There was a whole thing where he told Penguin that he lied to him. And then like Penguin got upset and then he got kidnapped. I don't know if that was necessary.
Yeah, it was a little unnecessarily convoluted, I think. He lied, but he didn't, but he's with Penguin, but he's not, but he's dead, but he's not. So here's my question. Is there a mute villain in the future that Martine is going to become? Is this a corollary to any of the Gallery of Rogues?
Nothing that's coming to mind. I mean, Batman has so many rogues.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't understand. Like I feel like Batman has more villains than the entire rest of Marvel and DC universes combined. So I'm sure there's someone gonna come up and say, oh, this character's mute and this character's mute. But nothing specific that's coming to mind. But I'm sure there's something. I don't think that's the angle that they're going for here. I think this is just this interesting character, and they wanted him off the board. So they just, found a way. I also think that was a very metal thing. For Penguin to just, to take to make Sophia think that he was giving in, and offering her the city in exchange for Martine, and then he just blows up that limo and is like, "Fuck you! You wanted a war? Here it is!" Ah! yeah, just so and I mean, it almost seemed a little bit of a cheat that Martine did end up living at the end.
Yeah, I mean, my notes actually say, is Martine going to grow up to be an uber supervillain? Oh, maybe not. Oh, maybe so. So I just...
Yeah, you'll understand. He'll understand one day.
So I do think the pending war is really exciting for me, and it looks like there's one more episode before it goes on that winter hiatus.
Yeah.
So next week we hopefully get all out war that ends in some kind of amazing cliffhanger to carry us over until whenever they decide to bring Gotham back.
Yeah. We got a lot of our mid-season finales next week.
Yep.
So, yeah, and I think now everyone's pulled in, and now even Jim has crossed Sophia. So I don't know where any of this is going. And now Sophia's finds herself, allied with the Sirens, which I actually think that does fit perfectly.
Well, and I like that the Sirens all have a history with pretty much everybody who's going to be involved in this battle, and they all have complicated, how Sophia dealt with Penguin versus how Babs dealt with Penguin, just the different paths that they all have taken to come to this moment where they're going to presumably work together. There's not a lot of trust there. I like that there's, I don't know, that there's a lot of trust with the Sirens also. I feel like Babs is always a little bit side-eye with both of the other two women. So I love those dynamics, and I was so excited when they grabbed Sophia and they had her in their well-lit gun lair. Yes.
Yeah, and so moving on, what did you think of Lee Tompkins, community organizer?
It felt a little bit like Game of Thrones. Stay with me. When Dany sets up the court, so the people of Marine would come and be like, here are my grievances, make it better for me, and Dany would give her pronouncement. That felt like Lee doing the same thing. Yes, come to me, I will bring you justice. But Lee is a little less comfortable in that role, and so I enjoyed her turning to her right hand man Ed, and I enjoyed the stuff with her and Ed. When she finally lays it on the line for him, there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with your brain, I just don't want you to go back to being who you were. I liked that very much. I like this Ed. I feel like Agent Palmer had a problem with that when I said that before, didn't he? He likes supervillain Ed, but I kind of like this unsure of himself version of Ed.
Yeah, and I think and it's interesting to see that dynamic going how he did really call Samson's moves beat for beat. He knew exactly what he was going to do. He just had the wrong solution. Lee just kept coming up with different solutions to get around those problems. So it and we do see Riddler show up in the mirror at the end. So the whole this is not over. That conflict is not over. I do, sad to say, think that he's going to be back in the green suit by the end of this week, by the end of this season. But it's I like the way that they brought back that conflict, that psychological conflict, and I'm interested to see how that plays out over the next few episodes.
Yeah. Again, I think I am really enjoying this season of Gotham because they have leaned into the campy, the stylistic approach. I honestly, the Lee Sampson, the Tommy guns, and it just kind of felt like post World War II old timey gangsters. I love the aesthetic. I continue to enjoy the set and the costumes and all of that. So, good stuff.
Cool. And then for our last storyline, we had Jim hunting down the pig, trying to find out who is this guy. And my thought is, why do you care? You trapped him.
Does it matter? But I liked having him out of the pig mask so we could enjoy him, the actor, the face, the facial expressions. Was this good, Michael Cerveris, for you?
Yes. Yeah, that was good. I actually thought the effects for his face, when he gets punched and it kind of goes out, those are really creepy.
That made me exclaim in sort of shock and horror. Oh my God. I just wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. And it's kind of similar to Heath Ledger's Joker, in Dark Knight. Just kind of the lengths this guy will go to stay anonymous, and to kind of put back behind him. And it almost does seem a cheat that at the end they actually do find out that he was a killer who escaped from the South, some guy named Laszlo. And he affirms that by writing that name in blood. Now, I don't know if that's his only persona, if maybe that's just who he was before, or if there's something else back there. But the pig is loose in Gotham again, and Jimmy's gonna have to answer that.
I'm just glad the pig remains active in the narrative. I was worried when they had the big tabletop fight last week that would wrap up that storyline. So I'm pleased that is happening. But yet again, man, Arkham, get it together. How many people escape from Arkham every month? Man.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. Yeah, and what was the other thing you had?
And yet again, this is another episode where I did not notice that Bruce wasn't in it. I didn't notice that Alfred wasn't in it. It didn't bother me. I'm always happy to see those two, but the other storylines are so compelling that this Gotham's doing a great job of making me not care when they're focusing on plot A and plot B has been benched for the week. So
yeah, and I also like the fact that they're not doing it one storyline per week. They figure, okay, we'll give you 3 out of 4 and just like switch out which one's missing each week. So that way you could still keep up with everything. And they give each storyline enough time to breathe.
Yep.
Cool. Anything more specific about Gotham?
Not really. Just to say that I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think it's
again,
good.
In a different week, I would be exuberant with my praise, but the crossover took all of my heart. So.
Yeah. And all right. So and there's no news from Gotham this week, right?
No Gotham news. So here we transition into news about shows that are not currently airing or not airing yet. Starting with iZombie. Looks like Blaine is going to transition into or stay working as an ally for Liv and company.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, I know. I hope if he is going to be working with them, I hope that he continues to be a reluctant, snarky ally, because that is what David Anders does best.
He had his chance. Let me tell you, when he came clean, that was so heartbreaking. That's one of like, the one moment every 6 weeks when I call up Bill Sweeney screaming like, "What the hell? Do you believe this?" And he goes, "I'm sorry, you're gonna have to be more specific. What show were you watching tonight?"
How often in a week do you call Bill screaming about TV?
Maybe like once every 3 weeks.
Okay, that's cool. That feels like the right ratio.
Yeah. I mean, specifically about TV. Yeah. Or sometimes it'll be news. I probably call him a couple times a week, just to talk about the show or whatever's going on or news or something like that. But like specifically while watching an episode, usually it's when I know it's something he's watching. But if it's something I'm not watching, that I just need to exclaim to somebody about, Bill's usually that victim because at least he can sympathize. Plus, I think he also gets a kick out of how excited I get watching television.
Sure.
But yeah. So yeah, Blaine's gonna try to be a good guy this season. Okay. All right. Sure. Sure.
I have always been a little regretful that they didn't play up the possible love interest angle with Liv a little more before he was revealed to be completely rotten to the core in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that would have been a little fun to play with. Oh, he's a man of mystery. He's dangerous. Oh, psych, he's a bad guy. So if they want to, I mean, he's been with her roommate, so that's creepy, and they probably shouldn't do that because. But I always thought that was a missed opportunity. So if they want to try to do the redemption thing again with the can we trust him or not, I'm cool with that. I like that actor. I like that character. So yay, Blaine. The other bit of news from the same story, which was on cheatsheet.com, is that Liv, one of the brains that she is going to eat this season, is a Renaissance Fair brain. Ren Fair.
Yes. Yeah. That is one of the I like the idea that even though the apocalypse has that, she is still going to be eating brains and trying to solve some crimes.
Yep.
And is still going to be doing her thing. Because those are some of the funniest moments in this show. And
fun for the actress. I mean, it's just it's fun to watch because you can think how fun it would be for her with costumes and makeup and persona and Yeah. The whole thing.
Well, like when Major had to eat a teenage girl.
Oh my God.
but even funnier than that was Liv being the uber supportive dad.
Yeah. I hope I'd like to see him do that a little bit more with Major. I think that would be really fun, is to put him through that ever so often. I wouldn't want it every week with both of them, but give Major more ridiculous things like that. That'd be good. So that's really it for iZombie. Black Lightning had a couple of pieces of news. One, just maybe you noticed, but during the big CW crossover, they did air a trailer that also included the logo for Black Lightning. So you got to see a little bit more about what that show is going to look like when it premieres in January. And the showrunners told comicbook.com that the show is going to be, in comparison to the other CW DC shows, a little more political, a little grittier, and a little more topical. Okay. Which is interesting because I think Supergirl can be pretty political and allegorically topical. And Arrow also, last season they did the gun control episode. This season, apparently they're going to do Black Lives Matter, which I still think is maybe not the best idea with an all-white writing staff, but okay. But yeah, I'm really curious. They probably don't have to hit it allegorically the way Supergirl does if it's going to be a more grounded show. So I'll be curious how that goes over with audiences and how deftly that is handled. That could be really great, or that could be really heavy-handed. So.
Yeah, I mean, you already have the idea that he's a high school principal in an urban high school, and you're dealing with gang violence. So there's a lot of things that do hit home, this is the type of character that they can get a little bit more serious and political with, and I'm interested to see how they handle that.
Yeah, and I wonder if you didn't have that kind of feel to the show, would it feel inauthentic, or would it feel like it was missing a component because it wasn't dealing with some of these issues head on? So yeah, I'm optimistic that that's going to be something that makes us think and talk and take things with us after the show is done airing. So other little bit of news about that, HeroicHollywood.com has a first look at rapper Crondon as Tobias Whale, who is the leader of the local gang, The 100, who is going to go up against Black Lightning this season.
I saw the pictures. I'm scared.
Yeah, he looked intimidating. And that's local gang The 100, not to be confused with CW television show The 100.
Yes.
Just hey, CW humor.
Yeah, and Tobias Whale is kind of like Black Lightning's version of Cottonmouth from
okay, cool.
From Luke Cage. It's that same type of black gang leader.
Okay.
But so you're gonna see that. I think it's gonna be a very different take than Luke Cage. It's going in a very different direction because this is
because it's not an R-rated Netflix streaming show.
Yeah,
but a network show on the CW.
Yeah, and somehow they're gonna make this a family show.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. And there's one last show to talk about.
And every time I have news about this show, Ed is convinced it's the last news we're going to get because I'm pretty sure he doesn't think it's going to happen. But V for Vendetta news. A website called Pursue News did an interview with V for Vendetta illustrator David Lloyd, who said about the proposed tentative rumored adaptation coming to one of the BBCs. He said nobody has talked to him about it. And he wishes them luck. Yeah. So he has not heard from anybody, seeking his input on it. I have no idea where the rights stand. I can't imagine he would have anything to do with it. But I suppose it would be courtesy if you were moving forward with the project to be like, hey, buddy, this is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it is a Vertigo property, so DC has some rights, and I think it is, there is kind of a creator-owned aspect to it, although if it was full-on creator-owned, then this would never happen because Alan Moore would not allow any of his stuff.
Oh, no.
And I think it's the kind of thing that because Alan Moore's disowned all of Hollywood's projects, they kind of just figured, let's just let sleeping dogs lie.
Every time you say Alan Moore in my head, I think crazy Rasputin Alan Moore. Like in my head, that's who he is. But continue.
You mean Treebeard? But yeah, and it is an unfortunate casualty. So, but at least he gives it his blessing. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and when he said he wishes them luck, I didn't mean that to be flip. He really did seem like, yeah, if they want to do this, this is great. I hope they can do it really well. He wasn't being like, yeah, good luck. So
yeah,
so interesting. So yeah, like I said, maybe that's the last we hear about this because it never materializes. But
we'll see.
It'll happen.
We'll see. I hope they at least shoot a pilot. Get some pics off that. But all right. And I think now we're on to our winners for the week.
Yes. This feels like a cheat, but my winner of the week, the freaking audience.
Okay.
Because that crossover was so good. We, as an audience who have watched these shows since Arrow premiered, when we weren't really sure how, a kind of Batman light was going to work on network TV, and we've been sticking through it, and we've been following these character arcs and the ebbs and the flows and the highs and the lows. I'm looking at you, reporter Susan, in season 5 on Arrow. We have stayed with it, and we were richly rewarded this week with this crossover. So the audience, and also, Olicity shippers because they're married, and also West Allen too, if that's your thing. So,
yeah, well, actually,
the audience.
that does lead into my winner for the week, which is romance. I thought all the romantic storylines in the crossover, Olicity getting married, Iris and Barry getting married, and the whole Alex and Sarah and that storyline, I thought all that was fun, and Citizen Cold and Ray. You had great romantic storylines of all types flowing through these, and did not break it. You were still focused on the action and built into it. It complemented the Earth X storyline in a great way. And it's still, we still got all of that crossover goodness, and just, those shots of all those heroes in one frame fighting.
Yeah. So your answer is WOV. WOV.
Yes.
I think that's so cool because I sometimes wonder what the big people who are coming to this from the comic book standpoint. I read the comics. I'm here for the comic stuff. I sometimes wonder if the relationshipy stuff is too much because I enjoy that very much along with the fighting and the costumes and the intricacies of the powers and things. So it's nice to hear a comic guy, pour one out for romance. Yeah. Agreed.
Cool.
All right. Well done, CW, DC TV, and Fox as well. All of you DC TV. Slow clap.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And thank you to all the listeners for checking us out.
We appreciate
so
you.
that's the DC TV report for this week. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Edward O'Hare TBD. Sarah?
I'm at Sarah Netzley, SaraNetzley.
And be sure to follow the show on Twitter at DCTV Report. Send along your emails to dctv@wickedtheory.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our show on your podcast app of choice and check out our sister shows, the Wicked Theory Podcast and Preacher vs. Preacher. This has been a Wicked Theory Studios production. Executive producer Bill Sweeney. Visit us at wickedtheory.com. Shazam, everybody.
Shazam!
Shazam!